Yo, what is going on, everybody? Welcome to another beautiful Saturday morning. Well, it's not really Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, I should say. Normally, we do If You Know, You Know, but as you guys know, we are on the great hiatus of shonen manga right now. Absolutely lacking any kind of content whatsoever. So in order to supplement that, we're gonna talk a lot just in general and have a big prediction stream. We're gonna talk a lot about some questions that I think are really important to have answered. Before we come to an end, we're gonna talk a little bit about how we think the series is gonna end in general. And of course, I'm gonna go to you guys and I'm gonna ask a lot of you guys what you guys think is going to overall happen. Because I want to see what the community thinks, most importantly. But I think, to be completely honest with you, the most important question that I have to always ask is, how in the heck are you guys doing today? What's going on, Adem? What's going up, Weirdo? What's going on, Tenro 100? Crimson Titan, Danderson is here. Tabby, Jenny, good to see you. Jujutsu Kaisen can't end. I completely feel that. Honestly, I don't know what I'm gonna do, which is why 2024 is going to be a big year of variety for the YouTube channel, because I know that we're slowly coming up on the end here. Just typing some things down. Oh, watching while you're exercising, we love that. We love that healthiness. Watching in the middle of the night all the way from Indonesia, we love that. Thank you for that support from afar. Everyone will die. Hey boy, that is literally what I'm probably going to theorize, but we're getting there a little sooner than I expected. We're probably going to talk a lot about that. Like I said, I have a couple big questions that we're gonna ask. Who lives? Who dies? What's up, Misery? How we doing? The end also means the beginning for mental ward salaries increasing. Yeah, super duper true. Hope you're doing well, Misery. Happy to see you in the chat. What's up, Slick and Mean? You got a track meet? Well, I wish you the best of luck. Mahito will be reincarnated. Now, that's definitely something that I do want to talk a little bit about, because if you know anything about me, I am one of the biggest Mahito fans of all time. I think I always will be, and I will always remain as the #1 fan of all time. So I think overall what ends up happening, because there's a bunch of different ways that the series can end. Obviously, there is the big theory, and the one that was prevalent for a really long time, which was Yuji just dying, Yuji getting executed. Which I think it's pretty safe to say isn't something that's going to be happening, especially now that, of all things, Sukuna is actually outside of Yuji, which means everything has suddenly changed over to Megami, which is scary to think about. Obviously, is Megami completely dead or not is something that I do want to discuss. Is Nobara gonna come back at all? That's something that I want to discuss. I'm sure some of you guys want to hear my thoughts on Gojo coming back, even though some of you guys may be a little upset about what I have to say. Hey, Tai Young, watching from Austria. Hey, we love that. Love watching streams. I love having you here. Happy to have all of you guys in chat. Super duper excited. And I always appreciate spending Saturdays talking Jujutsu Kaisen with you, which is why I was not going to miss this Saturday for anything. Barry says they're all cooked. Well, honestly, that's not too far from what I believe either. Honestly, like, Nobara coming back as Kenjaku is something that I think is very likely. And we can talk about what I think about Kenjaku's ending and how that will all come to fruition soon as well. But overall, I want to give it a couple minutes, let everyone kind of funnel into chat, let everybody come by before I get into a lot of the different topics that we're going to be discussing today. We are, of course, still mourning Higuruma's death. We still haven't gotten a chapter past that, so we're still fresh off the wound, the gaping wound that Higuruma's loss has left in my soul. Did you guys know that we also got to confirm that the Culling Game arc is over? I'm not sure if it was completely confirmed or it's just a wiki, but we are now in the Shinjuku Showdown arc. As soon as Gojo is unsealed, we leave the Culling Game arc and enter the Shinjuku Showdown arc, apparently. So that's interesting to think that like that arc is actually done now. We are in a different arc. Very, very long time. Probably just as long, if not longer, than the Shibuya incident. The Culling Game could have went a lot longer. Don't get me wrong. Like the Culling Game is something that could have went for like 200 chapters almost, because you consider there was like 10, 12 different colonies. We only saw about 4 to 5 of them. I stay by the theory we should have had a Todo colony, Todo versus Takeda as a reincarnated sorcerer. That would have been crazy. Giving Inumaki a small moment to shine, like against like a small curse spirit or something, would have been nice. You know what I mean? So here's my theory. I have a big theory that Gege is afraid to fall into the same traps that Bleach did. As everyone knows, Bleach had the big fake Karakura Town arc, which is a span of, I think, almost 200 chapters. How long is the fake Karakura Town arc? Let me look it up. I'm trying to look it up. I'm not having much luck here. Here we go. Arcs corresponding with chapters. Fake Kuratown is from 316 to 423, which is almost 100 chapters. Which honestly I would have assumed it would be longer, but I guess you can kind of merge Hueco Mundo into fake Karakura Town. Like 241 to 423. Either way, it's literally almost 200 chapters of straight hand after hands after hands after hands, with a lot of like side characters having really long drawn out fights. Like I think Baragon Luzenbarn has 12 fucking fraction, and like we see every single one of those fraction fight like a lieutenant. Like Kira Izuru gets a big fight. Hisagi has a big fight. Like a lot of the lieutenants shine, and like while it's super cool that like all these side characters have like these dynamic fights with like all of their own details, every villain that they fight has their own unique ability. I mean, 200 chapters of fighting can get a little old after a while, and that's everyone's biggest complaint about the fake Karakura Town arc specifically, because a lot of these fights don't have major plot relevance. It's mostly just waiting for all of these fights to be over to get back to the plot. So I can understand how Kubo didn't want to fall into that trap again. But I feel like the way that the Culling Game is and the kind of audience that Jujutsu Kaisen has built, I feel like it would have been completely okay if we did that. But I'm curious what you guys think. What's up, JSARP? How we doing? I love your I love your anagram. What's up, Chanadol? What's up, Tiberius? We got the goats in chat. That one MF is here. Elaine Pham, Blaine on the moon. At least Bleach fleshed out its side characters, unlike Naruto, in a shorter span. Yo, I won't lie to you. Honestly, in my opinion, the manga that does its side characters the best I've ever seen is probably Black Clover. No matter what you think about Black Clover, and obviously there are some flaws with Black Clover. There are definite flaws that I have with Black Clover. But no manga does its side characters better than that manga. It's cut and dry. I haven't read MHA. I haven't read My Hero Academia. So I don't know. Don't quote me, but what's up, Myers 420? What's up, music? Would have loved to see the other colonies. Yeah, 10 or 100. I completely agree. Like I think like we could have done a little bit more. Hey, Med, thank you so much for the $10, Dono. I appreciate that love and support. Before we get into the manga, humor me. If you could end anywhere up to the Nah, I'd Win panel for season 3 to end, what would you pick? Also, thoughts on Gojo vs. Sukuna being a movie? So I think Gojo vs. Sukuna being a movie would be all right. Like, don't get me wrong, I would be one of the first people at the doorstep, you know what I mean, there to watch that movie. And I would be so mad if like us and other content creators didn't get like free movie tickets or like an early showing or something. No, I don't need that. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I don't need that. But either way, I'd be one of the first people to go see that movie. I think it would be fine in a season. I also think it would be fine in a movie. I don't know. I mean, I saw a lot of people complaining on Twitter being like, oh, you know, who wants a movie of just straight hands? Who wants a movie of just Gojo versus Sukuna fighting? And I mean, I'm sorry, did we not all go to the theaters to watch the DBS Super Broly movie? Which was literally 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes of setup and then literally just straight up hands to the end of the movie. And that was peak. That was fire. So I don't think like a movie being all fighting is like bad by any means. Like I would be in the theater on the edge of my seat the entire time. But I also think it would work fine as a season. As far as if I could pick a place to end season 3, I actually kind of did start the blueprints for making a video that I made last time, like mapping out all the episodes for season 3. Fake Weed beat me to it. It happens. I wasn't expecting to get it out anytime soon. I'll probably drop my own interpretation of it as we get closer to season 3 because it is what it is. But honestly, for the way to give everything as much love and care as I would want, because the thing is, there's a lot of the culling game is a lot of dialogue, a lot of setup, and also a lot of the fights in the culling game are a little bit different compared to the Shibuya incident, where the Shibuya incident is like kind of the culmination of the beginning of Jujutsu Kaisen and like everything coming together. We have a lot of these characters who we've already seen fight. So it's mostly just either evolving past what we already know they can do, or we don't need much of an explanation as to, you know, what's going on. Whereas for the culling game, it's a lot of new characters, which one results in a lot of needed explanation for how characters' curse techniques work. You have characters like Hikari, you have characters like Reggie Star, you have characters that just have a lot more of fighting styles that require more yapping, without, for lack of a better word. So like the best way to give everything the light that I wanted, it probably would end like right after the Kenjaku fight. And like that would be like the finale of everything. The Kenjaku fight happens with Yuki and Shoso. Kenjaku wins. We get the callback at the end of, you know, of like Tengen dying, and then like the epilogue ending would be like them rushing with all the soldiers busting into the culling game. I do personally think it would be a much better end for season 3 to actually end right before 216, which would put it at ending off right when Meguna and Arame are flying off on Nue, laughing at Yuji, and the ending is like Yuji just staring at them leaving. Because if you really think about it, and why I think that would be the greatest ending, 212 would be a good ending, Tiberius. But the reason why I don't think that works is because imagine getting left off on the cliffhanger that Sukuna took over Megami. Like, I would at least think that we would get the fight and everything going off, and then Megami, Sukuna in Megami's body and Arame taking off. Because if you really think about it, we do get a small time skip after that fact. And then we actually would start Jujutsu Kaisen season 4 from Sukuna's perspective, which would be interesting because it would immediately start with the Yorozu fight. Because I just don't think the Meguna fight, like against Yuji, against Maki, I don't think that's a very good episode 1. Like, I don't think that's a good way to start season 4. We were all losing our shits, counting the clock until 213. Imagine if you had to wait a whole season. Exactly. But I just don't think 213 to 216 makes a very good episode 1. You know what I mean? I feel like it makes a very good finale episode, not a very good starting episode, because there is the time skip to the bath. A season without Sukuna just doesn't seem right. A season without Gojo seems amazing. Oh my god, I can't wait. A lot of people are saying that they think the season will end on Gojo getting unsealed, which is another decent off point because there's a time skip in between, and then we would start season 4 with Gojo versus Sukuna. But I don't know. I personally feel like the best end point is 216. Without rushing everything, skipping over things, or just making sure you give everything its, you know, love and care. Probably makes the most sense to end after the Kenjaku fight. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I've seen... what's up, Loud Gaming? I saw... do I think Perfect Preparation would be a movie? While Perfect Preparation would fit into a movie, that's another thing I wouldn't really be too upset about either. I mean, if that happened, that'd be cool. But yeah, I think there's a lot of different end points for season 3. It really could go anywhere. All really depends, again, like how much time they're willing to give to certain things, how much they're willing to, you know, rush certain aspects of it, and also just at the end of the day, you know, how many episodes the season are gonna have. Because I didn't think they'd be able to fit Shibuya into anything besides a 26 episode season, and look what they did. They fit it in fucking 23. So I could be completely wrong. There's also a lot of movement of like certain fights and things that they did in the anime that they might also do in season 3, like how they moved the Mei fight until after Yuji versus Choso as opposed to before. Small things like that. Yeah, Mappa does move things around a bit on the timeline, which makes the story flow a lot better and also helps them pace things differently. You know what I mean? Because some things may end up taking longer in a chapter because, you know, we're spending too much time to explain certain things, or we're waiting to shift to another perspective. Waiting to see people's reactions to Yuji's mom. Yeah, I need a lot of anime onlys to get that thing, because I know a big confusion for a lot of anime onlys is the Choso Yuji blood relation. You ever talk about what you thought about the whole Gojo coming back debate? Oh, multiple times, but I'll probably talk a little bit about that today. For sure. I'll probably talk a little bit about that today. But I'm going to go... Excuse me. I'm going to go ahead and probably get into some of the first couple points that I want to get into through the stream. Thank you guys all so much for showing up and hanging out with me. I sincerely appreciate every single one of you guys. If you could, make sure you hit that like button. It really helps the stream reach other people, because YouTube does not like to notify people for some reason. YouTube is terrible at notifying people. So if you hit the like button, YouTube will say, oh, wow, people like this stream. Let's send this out to all the people that subscribed, even though they probably should get the notification to begin with. Don't you love YouTube, guys? Last 3 weeks have been agonizing for the life of me. Can't wait more. Yeah, I feel that, honestly. Feel that completely. All right. So, let's get into it. One of the first things that I want to discuss, that I want to cover, you see him on screen. You know what I want to talk about. That's Megami. Now, I don't know about any of you guys, but there is a big discussion on whether or not Megami is dead or not. And I want to get a lot of your guys' opinions on this. Yes, Potential Man is in the building. Let me get a poll started. Is Megami surviving? I want to poll the chat first and see what a lot of you guys think. I know a lot of people are big time Megami is alive believers, but I'm curious because sometimes the silent majority stands to completely disprove any thoughts that I may have. He's dead. Reggie cursed him to die like a clown. See, that's something that I have always loved and appreciated, that small little nod to Reggie. Reggie Star is a character that does not get enough love. He's a character that, even though he only did a small amount, he only lasted for so many 10, 20 chapters, not even. He cursed Megami and predicted this whole nonsensical arc that we're in right now. He literally said, let fate toy with you and then die like a fool. And if Yorozu being a reincarnated sorcerer the entire time wasn't fate toying with Megami, I mean, damn. Didn't he take 5 hollow purples to the face? He did take multiple unlimited voids. I don't know if that, just because he bore the burden of adaptation, if that means his brain is literal mush right now. I think that would be very awful if like Megami did come back and he was just a vegetable and they had to take care of him for the rest of his life. Like Sukuna is going to swap himself out with Megami to survive the Executioner's Sword. So JSARP, that's something that I did want to discuss because that's something that I genuinely thought of at first and then I immediately disproved it, and let me tell you why. I thought that was a very viable option because it harks back a little bit to Yuji versus Mahito, doesn't it? When Yuji goes to hit Mahito with the Black Flash and then Mahito changes or morphs his body back to normal when he's in instant spirit body of distorted killing. I thought of something very similar to where Sukuna would literally turn his back to Megami for the sword to go through, which if that's the case, that would actually keep Sukuna safe. However, it wouldn't kill Megami because it was specifically confirmed that the Executioner's Sword will only kill the person who is charged. So even if the Executioner's Sword hit Kusakabe or hit Yuji on accident or accidentally, you know, stab someone that wasn't Sukuna, the death penalty only carries for the person that's named in the charge. I don't think the brain works the same for a soul, just like Unlimited Void works a little bit differently against cursed spirits. Completely possible. It's possible that bearing the burden of adaptation for Unlimited Void didn't toast Megami's brain completely. The man can still put 2 + 2 together, you know? Sukuna's gonna make a mouth that goes through his whole body so the sword pierces nothing. You know, like the mouth appearing on different parts of Sukuna's body was something that I would have never like gave credence to, and then it happened in the anime and I was like, damn, all right, I guess this is an option for Sukuna, huh? At first I literally thought this was something that Sukuna could only do when he was inside of Yuji, right? Like as we see Angel talk inside of Hana, you know what I mean? I'm like, okay, cool, that makes sense. But no, apparently even if Sukuna's in control of Yuji, he can just make another mouth appear, which is, I mean, interesting, but whatever. Hey, China Doll, thank you so much for the 5 gifted memberships. Always love and appreciate your support so much. Thank you. I see AMV University won that gifted membership. Yuji should just hand the Executioner's Sword to Maki. I mean, a little bit off topic because I know we're talking about Megami right now, but I think a big question that we're all asking is where the hell is Maki right now? I know we've all talked a lot about how she is the next insurance plan because it seems like they're going down the list, right? They've got Gojo was plan A, Kashimo was plan B, Higuruma was plan C. Now Maki's gonna be plan D, right? It's possible. That would probably be the only explanation as to where Maki is. Like, again, I know we had the poll last stream that was like, oh, Gege's literally just gonna have Maki off doing some kind of side quest that has nothing to do with whatever. But why I think that's impossible is because, again, I've been theorizing time and time again that Maki is going to die to Sukuna. It's going to be a sad day when that happens. But I don't know where Maki is. I, again, stand by the theory that if Maki is null and void to domain expansions, right? We're all on the same page for that one. If Maki can straight up just ignore the conditions of a domain expansion and also sneak into that domain expansion, why did we not just kill Sukuna when he was inside Higuruma's domain and bound by the no violence clause? Like, why? That seems like that would make so much sense. Does it not? If she can go in Naoya's domain and just completely ignore the entire innate technique of the domain, why can she not go in and like do that exact thing? She wanted a fair fight. I don't think we are in a position here, Hunter, Renecker, to be worrying about the fairness of how we take Sukuna out. I think at this point we need to jump Sukuna with all we have, like we're currently doing, and do everything at our fucking disposal to kill this anomaly of nature, because I think a fair fight has been thrown out the fucking window. We tried a fair fight with Gojo. That did not work. We tried a fair fight with Kashimo. My man's got pieced up and is laying into little pieces like a character from Resident Evil. Maki casually Fortnite dances into Malevolent Shrine and stabs Sukuna, bro. Because it's a law in Higuruma's domain. It's a law. Maki can't beat the law. She fought the law and the law won. He alone is the waffled one. All right. So actually, believe it or not, out of 108 votes, 54%, 53%, I'm sorry, are saying 50, back to 54. God damn it, YouTube, are saying that Megami is gonna die. Guys, get your votes in right now. We got 195 people in chat. Let's get some more votes in here, okay? I want to see some more about it. Also, guys, 194 people in chat. Let's get some more likes on the board. 120 people can vote on the poll. 120 people can hit that like button. But yeah, let's check out some of these donos here. Surprised by these poll results. Hey, Tiberius, thank you so much for the 10. Thank you so much. I always love to see you in the community, Tiberius. Happy to see you. I can't wait till some of you guys are walking around with Gojo badges. It's literally going to be insane to me. But thank you for your constant support of the community. Even when you're not in stream donating, you are in the Discord, you're on Twitter making memes. You are a killer member of this community, Tiberius, and I have to thank you for that. As well as your dono. So appreciate you, always appreciate you, and I want that to go for every single one of you guys. If you ever feel underappreciated, just know that I appreciate you. What if 10 Shadows domain expansion is meant to fill the opponent's domain or cover every shadow created by the opponent's domain structure shadows, basically turning the domain on the user somehow? So like what maybe I need a little bit more explanation as to what you mean by that. So like is that your way of explaining why like Chimera Shadow Garden doesn't have a barrier? Like it's meant to use the shadows, or it's meant to use the other opponent's domain expansion to basically fully realize itself? Which I think that's pretty cool. Is that what you're kind of saying, Tiberius? I think that's cool because it kind of goes into the basically, yeah, I think that's an interesting thought process, because if you saw my 10 Shadows like guide to taming Maharaga, one of the theories that I ultimately came to at the end was basically saying that what if Megami talks about how deep the shadows are. Yeah, it's almost like an endless, infinite abyss, right? It is kind of crazy to think about. And like in my How to Tame Maharaga video, I kind of theorized that it's possible that what if the Zenin clan and the Kamo clan are similar to the Gojo clan, where sure, the 10 Shadows is an amazing technique, but what if there's something missing? You know, what if there's another in a hereditary technique that's supposed to be paired with the 10 shadows to make it perfect? I mean, you consider that Gojo requires the 6 eyes to make the most of Limitless. What if, you know, I theorized in that video, what if the 10 shadows requires Heavenly Restriction to maximize itself? So it's possible that there is an aspect to the 10 shadows that is the reason why Megumi can't construct that barrier, or the reason why he can't access his full potential, because there's a whole side to the Zenin clan hereditary technique that he does not have access to. A lot of different ways that could go. I think there are still things about the 10 shadows that we do need to learn to tie it back to Megumi's death, whether he's fully gone or not. Seeing the final Shikigamis through Sukuna was definitely very validating. And it was really good that we got at least the name of Funeral Tiger. You know what I mean? Like, we at least were able to hear what the final term of that 10 Shikigami was, which confirms it's not a Gasho Dokuro or a big giant skeleton like everyone was thinking about. But the main thing that is still possible, that we were all talking about before Spatial Cleave was the thing, is how is Sukuna going to turn it over on Gojo, right? Remember, we were all having that discussion before 236 came out, of how is Sukuna going to turn the tables around on Gojo and win this fight. One of the things that we did theorize was, what if the full incarnation of the Chimera Shadow Garden domain expansion is like a life-stealing ability, where like he steals Gojo's life and converts it back into himself, because everyone's always been theorizing that the 10 sacred treasures, everything that kind of harks to Megumi's technique, kind of amasses to an idea of resurrection, reincarnation, which ended up not happening because Sukuna came back in a different way than everyone was theorizing. But again, now that Maharaga's gone, Maharaga's dead, we know totality is a thing, and we know Gamma, Max Elephant, Rabbit Escape. There are a couple Shikigami, I think there's one more. There are a couple Shikigami that are still alive. That technically Maharaga and Agito, whatever was in Agito, can be fused into to create one massive 11th Shikigami of a totality of everything, which I think is the one thing we are missing from the 10 shadows, that will make it for a reason that Megumi maybe doesn't come back, but Sukuna is like, okay, let me use the most of it. So I do think there are still things that would give Megumi a reason to not be taken out. Yeah, Tiberius, Ichibei from Bleach's power with how he uses black, that would be super duper cool. And yeah, they didn't discover their version of purple. They didn't discover their mixture technique, which I think is a very possibility, a big possibility. You know, the polls really show how the manga had such good writing. They're always super close to 50-50 because we just cannot predict what will happen next. Yeah, I mean, if anything can be said, like, I mean, just the fact that there's so much controversiality and, like, the character deaths and the character moments can have such of an impact, and, like, it creates such a visceral and emotional reaction out of the people that are reading. It makes it pretty clear to see that, you know, this stuff is, you know, this stuff matters. It is super duper important. Like, Megumi's character wasn't wasted. You know, Megumi's character still has so much potential going for it, and overall he still has an impact on the story. Even if Megumi never comes back, his impact on the story can't be forgotten. He was still a very important character, and that will never be taken away from him. Let me go through some of these other donos. Thank you again, Tiberius. Markadelic, thank you so much for the $2 dono. Appreciate that love and support. Thank you. Sukuna uses the memory ability to traumatize Yuji. Yo, if we get any kind of clarification or confirmation on that memory ability, it will be greatness. Because if you notice, while everyone's kind of theorizing that Yuji has the false memory ability, Sukuna's the only one that be killing people and then sending people into flashbacks and then literally interrupting those flashbacks to talk to the people. A lot of people have theorized, and I'm also one of those people that subscribe to it, it probably has something to do with the cursed realm, which is something that was briefly mentioned by Kenjaku back in, I think, chapter 160, right before the culling game takes off. when Kenjaku is escorting civilians outside of the barrier of the culling game. It's interesting because it's supposed to be a realm that's tied between sleep and death, which sleep and death are very close together. If you're familiar with Greek mythology, sleep and death are cousins. They're very close together. And a lot of people theorize that that's where Sukuna's fire arrow comes from. That's where Sukuna's ability to conjure curse techniques or quote unquote copy people's curse techniques, like when we see him use it against Gojo. Also, depending on how you can interpret Sukuna's words, Sukuna does technically imply that he would be able to perform spatial cleave himself if he had more time. Like, he didn't necessarily need Maharaga's adaptation to come up with spatial cleave and defeat Gojo. Maharaga's adaptation just gave him a blueprint to follow that led him to the result much faster. Sukuna does say, that's why Sukuna and Gojo say that even if Sukuna wasn't using the 10 shadows, Sukuna would have eventually won, because Sukuna with Cleave and Dismantle at 20 fingers power would still be able to duke it out against Gojo using Malevolent Shrine. They can still domain clash. They can still fight and go back and forth. And although Sukuna made the most of Maharaga and Agito and all the different Shikigami to like fight Gojo back and push Gojo to his limits, at the end of the day, Sukuna, after fighting for maybe another half hour or so, would have eventually unlocked Spatial Cleave and defeated Gojo. I think that is meant to be the point of everything. And there are a couple different ways you could say that that was possible, whether that be because Sukuna's Cleave ultimately is always adjusting to a person's curse energy to the point that because Limitless, even though it is, you know, slowing down of space, mathematics, and science, at the end of the day, it is still a curse technique that's being used by curse energy. I mean, domain amplification is able to get through Limitless, which shows that it is a tangible cursed technique. You know, it's more than just space. If you use some kind of curse energy hacks, you can get through it, which is why domain amplification can get through it. So it's possible that Sukuna is basically discussing that Cleave would eventually adjust to Limitless entirely and just cleave through it as a curse technique, or we can take it as Sukuna is using the, you know, black box Fuga, and eventually adjusting, analyzing, and getting to a point where he can cleave through and defeat Limitless through the black box. Something that I can point to in Frieren, if you guys, I know a lot of you guys aren't reading Frieren or watching Frieren, I suggest you do. Great anime manga, love it. One of the things that a lot of these characters can do, especially with barrier techniques and things like that, is given enough time, they can analyze a barrier mid-battle. Like while they're fighting and casting spells, like given enough time, they can also devote, you know, part of their mental capacity, I guess you could say, to analyzing a barrier. And then given enough time, after they've completely analyzed that barrier, they can break it because they completely understand the inner workings and everything that makes up the barrier. And then they just, after with that full understanding, they know how to break it. So it's possible through the black box, Sukuna was able to do that through the Limitless on his own. It just would have taken him more time. Or again, Cleave, as its technique is just adjusting to its opponent's or victim's cursed energy anyway, that would have won. But yeah, I think the memory, quote unquote, has a lot to do with the cursed realm, which is something that we definitely need explained to us, and is something that we can't just have fall to the wayside of anything that gets done in Jujutsu Kaisen or gets explained. But I feel like that the cursed realm kind of goes hand in hand with like Kenjaku and Tengen's origins and Jujutsu sorcery as a whole, that I kind of think there are multiple questions that we also need answers for. But that's neither here nor there. Anyone remember the cut on Sukuna finger after the bath? Right, that's definitely something that I think it should be important as a whole. That was something that also was never explained. It can be, because the thing is there's multiple different answers for that, right? Like, I think it could mean Yuji was unlocking Dismantle himself. It could mean Megami's vessel was kind of cracking because Sukuna's hold on it was cracking, and that's why he needed to fight Sumiki. Or maybe it was just something different entirely. Who the hell knows? I'd be sad, but I could see Megami being the only one alive. Maybe everyone else dies trying to free him, and he's left waking up in the end, seeing the destruction that was left after the battle, kind of. I completely agree with that. I think the only one person living is a very reasonable theory for how Jujutsu Kaisen will end, honestly. The thing is I think if anybody, it makes the most sense for anybody to live and suffer the consequences of everyone around them dying. It makes the most sense to be Yuji, as sad as that sounds. What if they're not false memories, but visions of enlightenment they gained from fighting Sukuna? Hey, you know what? I wouldn't be mad at that. Can Gege punish Megami anymore for us to be more hurt? I mean, to be completely honest with you, I completely thought we were never going to see Megami again, and he was just donezo, and then Gege brought him back to show him get hit by Unlimited Void multiple times. So I think the answer to your question is yes. There are definitely more ways that Gege can hurt Megami and make us more upset about that. The big thing in universe is we need Tengen for the barriers, or it has to end with getting rid of curse energy somehow. I definitely agree. I think either the extinguishing of all curse energy like Yuki wanted is a very viable option for the ending of Jujutsu Kaisen. I think that makes the absolute most sense, especially when you're talking about like making the least amount of conflict for the future. However, to your point, I also have my own theories about just Yuji's makeup in general, what Yuji's origin is, what Yuji's whole thing is, which is why I'll actually do it as the perfect segue to, is Yuji dying or not? I think that is the actual perfect segue. Let me go ahead, put him on screen. I'll read the rest of the donos, and then we'll get into the Yuji side of things for sure. Because, like I said, I think we've kind of talked about Megami's fate. We just have to wait and see what happens, honestly. But on that note, I do want to talk about, like, what Yuji's fate is ultimately going to be. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a poll here. Do we think Yuji is surviving here, guys? Let me hit me with that yes or no on the poll. Is Yuji gonna survive the end of the story? I want to truly know what you guys think. Surprisingly enough, 52% no, Megami's not surviving, which I think is pretty crazy considering the amount, like I said, how loud people that think Megami is still alive are. These polls always surprise me. But yeah, out of 220 votes, that's awesome, guys. Let me get back to these donos. If you haven't already, guys, please hit the like button. If you haven't already, YouTube is not a fan of sending out notifications that we're streaming. So if you like the stream, it really helps other people find the stream. What's up, guy man? I'm doing well. How are you? Quick question. Do we think we can get premature death style flashback for Sukuna? I sincerely hope we do. The Heian era arc is something I definitely want to discuss in the stream, because I think it's very important, for one, to give us clear backstory on not just Sukuna, but on some other characters. And also, I need a face to put to some of these the 5 Void Generals and the Sun, Moon, and Stars Squad and the Deshi Pacification Squad, all these random organizations that we know about from the Heian era. I'm gonna need more than just Oro, Gege. I'm gonna need all these motherfuckers' faces, or at least what they look like. I would love that. But yeah, again, premature death and hidden inventory is like a mass of like 15, 16 chapters. Like, I'm cool with a 10 chapter Heian era flashback. That's all I need. Let me go back to these. Yeah, light novels are our only hope. I hope we have some light novels. A Alucard FGC. Thank you so much for the 5. I appreciate that love and support. Thank you. Thank you. The more and more I watch and read JJK, the more I feel like Jujutsu Kaisen is a shonen Shakespearean tragedy of epic proportions. I completely agree with that statement, Alucard FGC. Thank you so much for the dono and your support. I mean, yeah. I say it time and time again. Jujutsu Kaisen is one of those series that, like, you can tell Gege Akutami is like someone that grew up with like the same shonen manga that we did. Dragon Ball Z to Naruto and Bleach and all of that, and then said, okay, I saw everything that went wrong with all of the previous things that I loved, and I'm gonna work my best to fix it. And I think he's done a pretty good job with it so far, to be completely honest with you. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think there's anything that Gege... There are some flaws with the story. There are some things that I don't like. I'll guarantee it. I'm not like... I know a lot of people will consider me like someone that thinks Gege can do no wrong, but like... That's not true. I definitely think there are things that Gege has done that I don't agree with. However, there are a lot of things that Gege does that I do agree with. And conveniently enough, a lot of the things that people don't like about the series and hate are some of the things that I love about the series. But yeah, no, I think Gege is very specific. Gege does know what he's doing. Like, there's never a moment that Gege is waffling or going through the story, just making shit up as he goes along. Gege always knows where he wants to go with things. He's got point by point by point by point. Sometimes getting in between those points may be, you know, improv'd, but the overall, all the character moments that he's trying to hit are all part of it. Like, Yuki dying to Kenjaku in that moment was always intended, probably from the moment that Yuki was created as a character. You know what I mean? Everyone's saying that, oh, Yuki was wasted potential, and people, or Nobara, for example, like, people will say that Nobara was wasted potential, and Nobara, Gege didn't know what to do with Nobara, which is why he killed her. Which, like, I feel like if you don't know what to do with the character, it makes more sense to just have them just stay in limbo of the story and have no one know what the hell they're doing. But, like, yeah. Gege could have made this a 400 to 600 chapter series, but cut down everything that would take it there and only gives us the stakes instead of the whole cow. Yeah, true. Like, Jujutsu Kaisen is a series that could be like a 600, 700 chapter story like Bleach, like Naruto before it. But I don't think that's what Gege wants. I think Gege, is much more focused on like getting through the important parts of the story. Like, every scene in Jujutsu Kaisen is important. It's such a tightly put together story. There's not a single scene that is out of place or is done for fluff, right? Like, everything is done with a reason. Every single scene we see has a point to it. Somehow getting into the cursed realm with the gang would have been a joke. Would have been not a joke, would have been dope. Yeah, I think like a cursed realm arc would have been cool. A cursed realm arc would have been cool. Quite honestly, I think like a JJK like 3rd year, 4th year thing would have been cool. You know what I mean? There's so many different things that could have went on. Complete and total arc surrounding the higher ups of Jujutsu Kaisen. All the higher ups could have been characters with their own powers. We would have had to fight the higher ups eventually, you know. The political side of Jujutsu Kaisen and the Jujutsu Society could have been much more on frontal display. A show being longer doesn't make it better. I completely agree with that. I don't think a show being longer doesn't necessarily make it better, but the point is Jujutsu Kaisen is a series that suffers from not exploring the large world that it created. The section up north that's holy, right? The Ainu squad, all of that shit. Hokkaido, that's all shit that could be explained. That could have been an entire arc. The Ainu organization. The Q, That's a whole curse user group and organization that we get no further elaboration on whatsoever. Maki pointed out how a vengeful spirit Naoya is a human, then Panda is a human too. When did that happen, Music? I don't even remember that. I don't even remember that happening. We need a little bit more Tagashi. Yeah, we need a little bit more Hunter x Hunter-esque shit. Is Angel not gonna fight? I don't know. I mean, I think the reason they're choosing to not use Angel is because it would immediately kill Megami, and I think they want to try to save Megami before they give up on him. So, like, I think that's why they're not immediately defaulting to Angel again, because as shown before, Jacob's Ladder is a pretty much one-hit victory against Sukuna as long as she doesn't fumble, which if she fumbled a second time, crazy. Fuck Megami? I agree. I'm never going to disagree with that. I think Megami should be done. I think we should be saying, fuck Megami. Let's fucking just nuke this whole area. I'm with you, brother. I'm completely with you. Let me read China Doll, your dono. I appreciate that love and support. Thank you for the 20. I love and appreciate your support as always. Let me read this dono and let me run to the bathroom real quick and we'll get into is Yuji dying or not. Maki dying to Sukuna kind of makes sense. Like Toji dying to the strongest and now Maki dying to the strongest. See, that's an awesome that's a nice little catch that I didn't even think of, China Doll. I didn't think about that either. That would literally make sense. That not only did Toji die to the strongest sorcerer of the time, but now Maki died to the strongest sorcerer of the time. Now even more reason for it to make sense for Maki to die to Sukuna. Thanks, China Doll. Appreciate that. I'm sure Maki appreciates that too. I'll be right back, guys. Yeah, don't let Cherokun talk too much shit. Damn, Cherokun fucked me up here. I always get muted when that happens. I always mute myself. You don't need to don't know anything. Metal Saga Beyblade outscales JJK. It's just a fact. We don't even need to discuss. We don't even need to discuss. Whew. All right, let's take a look at this poll. Is Yuji surviving? See, now this is a little bit more cut and dry here. Yes, 73%. That's pretty wild, to say the least. I completely agree with you. I think if anyone makes the most sense to survive in this terrible fucking tragedy of a story, it's Yuji, of all people. I think Yuji surviving this entire ordeal is something that's been theorized since literally the very beginning of the story. In fact, chapter 1 of all things. And that is entirely due to his grandpa. His grandpa literally said, hey, Yuji, die surrounded by a bunch of people. Which makes me think Yuji is going to die alone. Yuji's gonna die alone as fuck. And to the point of what Tiberius said earlier in chat, actually, talking about how Jujutsu Kaisen, or at least the country of Japan in Jujutsu Kaisen, requires Tengen's barrier in order to flourish with cursed energy. The reason why Japan has so many more sorcerers, so many more cursed spirits than the average country in the rest of the world is specifically because of Yuji's, is specifically because of Tengen's barrier. Tengen's barrier completely and totally, like, makes all cursed energy and negative energy continually grasp or continually flow in the world of Jujutsu Kaisen's Japan. If Tengen is gone, which he is now, there's no one that's going to be protecting these barriers. There's no one that's going to be upholding the things that keep Jujutsu society in line. In my opinion, there needs to be someone in line to keep the barriers in check. And I think if anyone makes the most sense to not just survive Jujutsu Kaisen's plot, survive all of the character deaths, survive Sukuna, Kenjaku, everything. Like I said, I think it makes the most sense for Yuji to be the last survivor of everything. I think it just was very poetic and completely contradicts the statement that his grandfather made to him at the very beginning of chapter 1. And as Tiberius said, I love the idea of the last chapter being old man Yuji running across the newly formed Mahito. I think that's a beautiful ending to Jujutsu Kaisen, and it also keeps Yuji a man of his word, because that means Yuji sticks to his promise of waiting for Mahito to reform to beat the fuck out of him. I thought Geto was gonna be brought back to come back and become Tengen to punish him. That would be that would definitely be a stark contrast to what Geto wanted to happen. But I guess that makes sense that, like, he would dedicate his life to making sure cursed energy never dies. I mean, that's one way. Couldn't they just make a new star vessel? I mean, I guess, but I think after this, I don't think we should go back to the status quo. You know what I mean? I think this is one of those situations where it's like, you know, like in like Fallout New Vegas, if any of you guys ever played Fallout, it's like our world was destroyed by like all the things that we did before in society. And like the problem with all of the new societies is we keep trying to do what we did before. Like we're going to get different results. Like in my honest opinion, like if we beat Kenjaku, right? And then we just go, all right, Tengen, go back to normal now. I don't think that's a very good idea, to be completely honest with you. Shouldn't cursed energy be gone by the end of the story? It's possible. I made a theory about that ghetto theory, and the next day was the chapter Kenny got his head cut off. Oh, I kind of remember that. Is that the video that you were like, wow, this immediately just got debunked? Sorry about that. But yeah, I mean, was it even stated that other countries except for some in Africa have cursed energy or even cursed spirits? Yeah, cursed energy and Jujutsu sorcerers are naturally occurring, just at a much rarer rate than inside of Japan. Like, that's why there are shamans in Africa. I'm sure there are sorcerers in America and all the different places in the world, but they are not nearly as many. They're more far and few in between. That's also why it takes years upon years for shamans in Miguel's country to make a black rope, whereas it would probably take a couple days in Japan. Hey, Myers420, thank you so much for the 6 months of being a member. Appreciate that. Thank you so much for your constant love and support. I just hope we see Takaba again. I completely agree. I don't think Takaba is dead. I don't think Takaba is dead at all. I think Takaba, like, quote unquote, lost the fight. But I think like Takaba was just making a joke. You know what I mean? Like, Takaba literally was just like all put up and ready to go in like a death. And like, he looks over at Kenjaku and goes, thank you. And Kenjaku literally goes, stand proud. You are strong. Like the Jogo death. And then right before Kenjaku goes to kill Takaba, is when Yuta strikes. I think it would be pretty fucked up for Yuta to wait until after Takaba dies to strike. That would be kind of crazy. Yuta went to Africa. How did he not return with foreign knowledge of cursed energy or something? I mean, he may have, but I don't think, like I said, like Japan is basically the central monolith of Jujutsu. Like, there's not much outside of foreign sorcery that like compares to, you know, life inside of Japan. He dressed up for fun, which is the only funny thing he did. Yeah, Takaba's a big, you know what? The real fight would be Takaba versus Carrot Top. But yeah, I think Yuji surviving makes the most sense. As far as like Yuji's origins go, that is a huge question that we definitely need the answer to. Like, part of the reason why I think like it makes the most sense for Yuji to be like a Tengen stand-in or like the new Tengen would be just Yuji's makeup as a whole, Yuji's vessel composition, Yuji's body, whatever the fuck Yuji is. You know what I mean? Like, Kenjaku considers Choso a failure. He considers all the death paintings a failure. However, Yuji, he's very excited about. And Yuji, he considers, as long as Yuji exists, they are the eye of the storm. As long as Yuji and Sukuna exist, Jujutsu chaos will continue. Which, like, is Yuji a new Tengen? Is Yuji... You know, like, what makes Yuji so different from the death paintings? What did Kenjaku do differently with Yuji? Because as we know, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Which Kenjaku did the death paintings 10 times to no avail. Ordinary ass experimental results. Because while Choso has unlimited blood and is a strong sorcerer, at the end of the day, he amounts to a grade 1 sorcerer at best. With some like special characteristics in his blood and the fact that he can, you know, he's still kind of curse related. Not good enough for Kenjaku. I think what a lot of people have theorized, or at least what I have theorized, is maybe what made Yuji's birth different was the existence of a finger. That would also explain how, one second. Sorry about that. Excuse me. Yeah, it would make sense to me that Yuji's birth was made differently because of that final finger being used. Do I think the single finger that's missing is actually just Yuji? It's completely possible. That, like, the reason why there is no last finger is because Yuji literally is the last finger. Like, what made his birth different is Kenjaku not only bore the burden of pregnancy, which is something to note, that is definitely a difference in the plan, right? Because Kenjaku, when making the death paintings, made the woman bear the pregnancy and give birth to the child. With everything we know in regards to Jujutsu and placing binding vows or conditions on yourself to make the Jujutsu stronger, wouldn't it make the most sense for Kenjaku to go, okay, all of this nonsense, you know, happened and it didn't amount to anything. So why don't I try something different and bear the burden of the pregnancy? But on top of bearing the burden of the pregnancy, Kenjaku also devours that finger and uses the finger as, like, basis, which would make sense as to why Yuji not only looks like Sukuna, I mean, Jin kind of looks like Sukuna too, but it's interesting to think about, like, what was done differently for Yuji. What is Yuji? A lot of people are theorizing, as someone says in chat, like, what if Kenjaku takes over Yuji's body? I know a lot of people are theorizing about that, especially with Kenjaku's quote-unquote death ending in Kenjaku claiming that his will be inherited. Imagine, here's a scenario. Imagine Yuji does kill Sukuna. Yuji hits Sukuna with the Executioner's sword, and he kills Sukuna. Yuji achieves his character's goal. He beats the demon that is the King of Curses and saves everybody. And in that last moment, Kenjaku takes over Yuji's body. And Kenjaku in Yuji's body is the final villain. I don't know about you guys. I don't like that idea. I think genuinely, like, losing a character like Yuji or Yuta to Kenjaku is overall too crazy, in my honest opinion. Just too fucking insane. And the reason why I say that is literally because, like, we have the protagonists have taken so many L's. We have had character death after character death after character death. Gojo lost. We lost Megumi to Sukuna. So many different things have happened. And now you want to tell me that we lose. So, like, I don't think Yuta could be a Kenjaku vessel because Yuta is literally one of the strongest characters we have left. And we already have the criticism that people throw around all day that, like, oh, how are the students going to beat Sukuna? It's just going to be plot armor. None of the characters are strong enough. Gay is going to pull it out of his ass. No one's strong enough to handle Sukuna. And you want to get rid of Yuta on top of that? You want to add Yuta to the villain roster? What? That's crazy. What if Yuji is the final finger? If the blade does work, do you think him stabbing Sukuna would just transfer him back to Yuji and not actually kill him? So that's something that I did talk about a little bit a couple streams ago, whereas, like, who's to say that if we kill this Sukuna, there's not one Sukuna finger out there left, and Sukuna essentially is still alive? He just has one finger's worth left of power. My counter argument to that is, yeah. If at this point, if after 250 chapters, we'll call it, let's say that's how long it takes for Sukuna to die, whatever, gets transferred to that last final finger. If that is the case, if we can't handle a one finger Sukuna, what the fuck are we doing? if we have come this far, we've all leveled up this much, and we've all gotten this strong and did all this shit. If Yuji can't left, right, good night, one finger Sukuna at this point, hey, we were never meant to win in the first place, bro. It's that simple. You know what I mean? Are you with me on that? Like, I think if that happens and we do reduce Sukuna down to one finger, that should be cake. We should be like, all right, bet. Even if we have Maki, we have Hikari, we have Yuta. Yuta, Hikari, and Maki can't beat one finger Sukuna? I'm sorry. Crazy to me. If three finger Sukuna was worried about Maharaga, then damn. What if it doesn't nerf him though? Like when he, I guess because he did transfer all of his power into the. Well, here's the counter argument I would make for that. But I guess that's also a good possibility, Chanadol. In the first instance, he transferred all of his power, 15 fingers into the one finger, had Megami eat that, and then ate the 4 fingers to gain one finger's worth of power each. It would make sense if the body that holds 19 fingers died, those 19 fingers would also perish and then just leave the 1 power left. I don't think it would be like a Kurorushi situation where once the main body dies, all of that power gets transferred over to the remaining vessel. However, by the bare fact alone that Kurorushi does something similar to that, maybe that's the case. It could be either or. One finger Sukuna would still find a way to work around and work his way up again. Again, if that is the case, more power to Sukuna. The game was his to win from the beginning. I think Yuji's damaging Sukuna's soul with his punches. I completely agree, Delazar. I think some of the things that Yuji, again, I think Gege is saving all the power-ups that Yuji has gotten for like a major Yuji-centric chapter. Perhaps that's what we're going to be getting. When the Executioner's Sword inevitably fails and we have to continue the fight against Sukuna, or when Gege cuts to something else going on. But either way, hi, Brooklyn. Hello. Hi. Let's get some cool emojis in the chat. Everyone send some cool emojis for Brooklyn. No, not Jogo. What's Brooklyn's favorite animal? I'll send some octopus. I don't know if that's what she likes. Ooh, we got volcanoes. Volcanoes are cool. Oh, we got a penguin too. Penguin emoji. Is Brooklyn the child with cleave and dismantle? Oh, she likes tigers? That's lit. Tigers are pretty dope. I won't lie to you. You know what? Not for nothing. Yuji is the tiger of the East. So I think, realistically, if you think about it, we do still have Yuji on screen here. Like, if you really think about it, we do still have Yuji on screen. But sincerely, like Yuji, there's so much to discuss about Yuji's origin. It's something that clearly I think Gege is just waiting to get into. I think that's part of the reason that we have not seen, and that's part of the reason why the piercing blood was fired off screen, right? Because Gege is waiting to show us everything that Yuji can do, be it the soul manipulation, piercing blood. He's been learning Kamo clan techniques, everything like that. One of the craziest things to me, in my honest opinion, is just, I think Yuji, everyone theorizes that Yuji is a reincarnated Culling game player, or Yuji is from the Heian era, or Yuji is like another being, or Sukuna's twin. There's so many different aspects to what it could actually be. But to be fair, I think as we talk about like the final finger and the kind of things and the kind of, you know, impact it can have on the story, I think that can also segue us to our next section of what we're going to be talking about today, which is, do we think Nobara's coming back to the story in any way, shape, or form? I know we've talked about this so many different times, but I just wanna start a little bit, because the biggest thing for Nobara coming back is the final finger, right? Everyone theorizes that, because let's be real, Nobara's impact on the story, or her purpose in the story, has kind of waned as the time has passed her. Like, excuse me, it's been over 100 chapters now since Nobara has been quote unquote killed. And I think earlier into the death, everyone was like, yeah, she can come back, she can come back. As the Culling game kept progressing on without her, we were like, wow, a lot of these characters are really strong. Kind of feels like Nobara really wouldn't have a place in this arc. Kind of feels like Nobara would really just get mollywopped, similar to like Inumaki or other people that were left out of the Culling game, right? Then we get the Shinjuku showdown. Gojo dies to Sukuna. And we're like, damn, bro. When will I do another Sakamoto Days tier list? Maybe soon. Maybe I'll hit the fake weeb up, hit Broken Ronin up. Well, maybe we'll do another Sakamoto Days tier list. It has been a while. It's been probably longer than a year. But yeah, Sukuna would one-shot Nobara. There's not really a place for Nobara to fit in. Except the one way that everyone has always talked about now, because Nobara's impact and Nobara's strength has been surpassed to the point where she really doesn't fit much in the story at all. The biggest impact is Nobara's soul resonance, which comes strictly from Nobara's straw doll technique. We've seen it all the way back in Origin of Obedience, when Nobara defeats Esso. Nobara defeats Esso because Esso's arm gets left behind in the fight, and by putting the straw doll on top of Esso's arm and slamming the nail in it, by using the arm as the connection to Esso, she's able to hairpin Esso from the inside, and internal damage is pretty devastating to most people. So a lot of people think that because Nobara has been completely passed over, and power-wise, she's been completely, you know, overwhelmed, she really wouldn't hold much of a threat in any fight whatsoever. Her only hope of coming back is to use her straw doll technique on the remaining finger that Gojo may be hiding, and that can cause significant damage to Sukuna, which I think is a really cool way to think about things too, because if you really think about it, you know, that does hark back to the way that Yuji was able to get one over on Mahito, at least before she died. When Nobara hit the hairpin on Mahito's double, it basically ricocheted to the Mahito that Yuji was fighting against, and then Yuji literally just like started popping on this motherfucker. If you watch CJ the Champ, he literally compared it to like a fighting game when you get someone stuck in the corner it was so funny how Yuji was beating the brakes off of Mahito. So it does kind of come back to that whole fight. So if Nobara does come back, that's realistically the only way I see her maintaining relevance in the story still, considering power-wise, she definitely doesn't compare to anyone in the story. Miwa is very specifically sitting out, and I think Nobara can sit right next to Miwa on levels of uselessness, at least at this point. She's a cool character, had a great curse technique, really fulfilled her purpose, but now she doesn't really have one. Hey, Mandab, thank you for the $10. Appreciate that love and support, babe. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Always trying to get that hype train started. If the finger only contains a portion of his soul, would Nobara really be able to do much damage since it's not his entire soul, or does it all connect? No, I think just based off of the way that we've seen it used against Esso, I'm pretty sure it all connects. Like, it all comes together. What if Kenjaku gets Gojo? So, on that note, I think we can kind of talk about, is Gojo going to come back at all? For just a brief moment, right? So, Gojo, our boy, is he going to return? Probably not. Probably not at all. Let's be real here. Now, I did see in chat someone mention, what if Kenjaku takes Gojo's body? And I have to be real here. I have to be 110% real here. I feel the same way about Kenjaku taking Gojo's body as I do about Kenjaku taking Yuta's body. How much more of an advantage are we trying to give these villains? Because, oh my god, I don't think these guys need any more leeway to win, right? And also, I'm pretty sure if Kenjaku was going to steal Gojo's body, or steal a Six Eyes user's body, he would have done it a long time ago. Kenjaku has had thousands and thousands of years to try and start the merger, start Nirvana, and do all of this, right? And he hasn't been able to accomplish it specifically because of the Six Eyes users. It has been a constant problem in his plan for millennia. Every time Kenjaku gets close, a Six Eyes user stops him. It's literally fate for this to happen. Now, that's why he spends so much time trying to seal a Six Eyes user. And it's also why Kenjaku also tried to kill a Six Eyes user's baby. And then, you know, or the child of the Six Eyes when he could. And then it was shown that another Six Eyes user showed up immediately right after, right when they needed the most. So the Six Eyes is tied to Kenjaku always failing. So wouldn't it make sense that Kenjaku would just go, okay, well, that would completely change if I stole a Six Eyes user's body and then I was the Six Eyes user. You know what I mean? Now, there's got to be a reason why that can't happen, whether because the Six Eyes just puts too much of a stress on Kenjaku, or because the Six Eyes is fatefully opposed to Kenjaku. They are always opposed to one another and are unable to actually be the same person. Or it's probably similar to why Kenjaku can't take over a body like Toji. The soul is too powerful, or there's got to be a reason why it can't. Because I think if Kenjaku could just take Gojo's body, I think he would have done this before. It would have been an answer to a question that he's had his whole life. I don't think Kenjaku would have sealed Gojo. I think his first answer would have been, all right, let me just take over a Six Eyes user's body, and I will be not only the strongest sorcerer in the realm, but no one will be able to stop me. So Yuji actually just gets the Six Eyes to mess with him. It is interesting to think about, like, because the Six Eyes user always shows up to stop Kenjaku, and now the Six Eyes user is killed. It would be interesting to look at how the Six Eyes are going to come back and stop Kenjaku, if that is the case, right? Obviously, it has nothing to do with Gojo returning. You know what I mean? Gojo is not coming back no matter what you think. There's no potential chance of Gojo coming back. He's dead. Stop coping now. There's more chance of Nobara coming back than Gojo coming back, all right? I don't think Gojo has any relevance. However, Yuta taking on the Six Eyes, or Yuji taking on the Six Eyes, or the Six Eyes coming back to fight Kenjaku in some way, shape, or form does make sense to me. I would be more than willing to see that. Hey, China Doll, thank you so much for the 5 gifted members. Appreciate that. Carrying on that hype train. We love it. Keep that hype train going. But yeah, to answer your question, I don't think Gojo's coming back. I don't think Gojo has any more relevance in the story whatsoever. I think Gojo had a great ending, and I think it makes the most sense for him to pass on and leave the rest of this to his students, which, stop having doubts about Gojo's students. If Gojo is confident in them, then you should be, god damn it. And yeah, as far as like Gojo being absorbed by Kenjaku or anything like that, I don't think that's gonna happen. I think the villains already have enough of a handicap. I don't think they need any more. And the only person I see taking one of Gojo's moves is either going to be Yuta or Yuji. Because again, and that's only strictly because you know, it is theorized the Six Eyes always stops Kenjaku, but it's not required. I'm gonna run to the bathroom again, guys. I drank way too much gamer subs before this stream. Gotta run to the little boy's room again. I'll be right back, guys. Don't let Cherokee talk to you about too much controversial shit. unlike Gojo, I'm back. All right. 20 degrees. God damn, that's cold. Can we discuss how people likely have misread the soul swap panel? It was Mei saying Itadori in that panel, not Kusakabe and Yuji swapping bodies. Well, we will see for sure. That's actually something to think about. Ino-san's technique can most likely be embedded in a tool because he's now able to use the techniques of the dead. I think one of the most interesting things is the fact that we did see Nanami's curse technique also put into his blunt blade. I think it's interesting how that was done. That is definitely something that might need a little bit more explanation, because not because it's a plot hole or it needs more, but because I want to know what the hell happened. The fact that not only was the blunt blade used, but it holds the 7-3 curse technique. If I recall correctly, I think Angel said Vessel and other person have to cooperate in order for their souls to actually merge, to not resist change, and Yuji and Sukuna never cooperated. Yeah, I think it is I think it's clear that Yuji and Sukuna are definitely like an anomaly. Like Sukuna even says like Yuji acted as like a cage. Yuji's soul caged Sukuna's inside. To whereas Angel and Hana like coexist in the same vessel. Whereas we know the other reincarnated sorcerers were just completely subjugated the initial vessel and completely killed them. What if Ino uses Nobara's hammer for resonance? Hey, yo, that would be one way to confirm Nobara's death. That would be wild. But one of the last things that I want to discuss here, in regards to the end of Jujutsu Kaisen as a whole, something that I think needs to be discussed to a very high level. Let me see if I can get these two characters in the same on the same screen here. This is like the best image I'm gonna have possible, so I will use it. And the relationship that I'm talking about is between Tengen and Kenjaku. Probably one of the most important relationships in all of Jujutsu Kaisen, and the reason for that is specifically because this is where everything starts. This is where everything comes from. Jujutsu sorcery, cursed energy, everything starts from Kenjaku and Tengen. So, one thing that I actually thought of, and one thing that I realized, if you pay attention to hidden inventory, right? The cult of the star, the big cult of people that worship Tengen, wanted Riko to die so Tengen could achieve its evolution and reach its next stage. They specifically mention how Tengen brought Jujutsu to Japan in the Nara period. Now, I know a lot of different time periods in Japan get thrown around a lot, and the years that they consist of aren't exactly elaborated on. Yes, Tiberius, definitely important to note how both of their curse techniques involve immortality or just living longer, right? The Nara period directly comes before Heian, which basically means the golden age of Jujutsu, the most violent era in history, where Jujutsu shined and became its brightest, most violent time period, was the period directly after Tengen came to Japan and brought Jujutsu with him. As Justin Whiteman said, first of all, thank you for joining the stream. And yeah, me and Zonin and a couple other JJK creators talked a lot about this specifically in the video that he just uploaded today. So go check that out if you want to hear more of my opinions on this. I'll just be briefly summarizing it here, but it is interesting that the Heian era, oh, with her, right? Yeah, I'm sorry. I know Tengen's pronouns fuck me up because no, not for nothing. Gege you interchangeably uses he, him, her, they. I don't know. If I mess up, I generally am sorry. I know it's supposed to be her. I'm trying. Never forget Tengen the baddie just because Tengen the thumb is here. Super true, Ali Lone. Super true. We cannot forget. We cannot forget that. But anyway, I digress. Besides me misgendering Tengen, Tengen brought Jujutsu with them, if we are to use that description, right? So one, it brings up the question, where did Tengen come from to bring Jujutsu sorcery to Japan as a whole? And two, where does Kenjaku come in? Was Kenjaku a member of the Heian period, or was Kenjaku also with Tengen when they brought Jujutsu over to the Heian period? Because Kenjaku is clearly very familiar with Sukuna, very familiar with Arame, very familiar with all of these different, you know, people, to the point where we, why we need a Heian era flashback, because we need to know where all of these interlocking pieces came from. But it harks back almost, and I've said this before, to Full Metal Alchemist, even, in my opinion. And that's what I immediately think of, specifically when you think about how Tengen and Kenjaku have some form of relationship that stems back even probably from the Nara period, maybe even further back. Specifically because Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood doesn't use sorcery, it uses alchemy. And not to spoil, I'm sorry, spoilers for Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood if you haven't somehow seen FMA yet, I'm gonna spoil FMA a little bit. Alchemy stems completely from the origin of the ancient city of Xerxes, where alchemy was first used by Hohenheim, Ed's dad, and eventually the first homunculus that Hohenheim created. They in turn create the very first Philosopher's Stone, and in turn create alchemy. Hohenheim is the Philosopher's Stone, and so is, we'll call him Father. And they go separate ways. Father goes to the west, Hohenheim goes east. Now think about it. These two characters then take alchemy and basically expose it to the sides of the country that they go to, right? Where Father goes to the west, introduces the destructive side of alchemy, where you exchange things to create attacks, methods, and you can destroy things. Hohenheim goes to the east and creates the creation side of alchemy, where you can create things, you can heal people, still all an exchange of things, but they take their own interpretations of alchemy and basically introduce it to the world. It's like Indra and Asura from Asura from Naruto as well. It's very similar, where you have these two people that basically take their own interpretation of what cursed energy might be, and they basically bring it to different areas of the world. Obviously, Kenjaku, for all we know, didn't bring it to another part of the world, because Japan is the only one that has barriers around it. But hold on 1 second. Sorry, I think I'm getting a little sick. I just have to blow my nose. I apologize, and I don't want to do that on screen. You guys don't want to see that. But it is interesting how, like, Tengen, after who knows what happened, for some reason in the Nara period, Tengen goes to Japan and introduces cursed energy. Kenjaku at some point follows and spends most of his 1,000-year reign trying to defy Tengen and trying to find a way to, you know, merge Tengen with humanity, create nirvana, or as he says, unlock, you know, chaos that even he can't control. Now, a lot of people theorize that, you know, maybe this isn't the very first culling game that has ever happened, which I think is quite possible as well. Considering just how much Tengen knows about the culling game, before, like, Tengen, if you really think about it, Tengen explains all of the rules of the culling game to us before we even enter the culling game and learn of all the rules from Kogane. A lot of people have that big theory that this is the second culling game. And the first culling game was held in the Nara period, which led to the Heian period. Because if you think about it, Kenjaku says at the end of the Shibuya incident, he goes, "It's starting again, Sukuna, the golden age of curses," when he begins the culling game. So perhaps the Heian era was one big culling game, or again, as many people have theorized, Sukuna was the winner of the previous culling game. And that's how Sukuna ascended and essentially became this strong, powerful being. And also why he knows of Tengen, why he knows of Kenjaku. Now, as people are saying in chat, you know, this could just be the first culling game because the culling game is meant to mimic the Heian era. There's a lot of different aspects and a lot of different theories that can be had. But I do think it's very interesting that Tengen, again, from some unknown place and location, comes to Japan, introduces Jujutsu sorcery, and then the Heian era period starts immediately afterwards. There's something that happened there, right? Also, where is Tengen throughout the entire Heian era period? Before Jujutsu Society as we know it is set up, right? Because it seems like in the Heian era period, there was no Jujutsu Society. Seems like in the Date period, there was no Jujutsu Society. So my question is, when did the higher-ups, when did traditional Jujutsu politics as we know it begin, right? Because if even as far back as 400 years ago in Kashimo and Ishigori's time period, it was still an era of violence and just random sorcery. I'd be curious to know, when did Tengen take control, right? Because if we think about, if Japan is flourishing in cursed energy because of Tengen's barriers and the Jokai barriers, the main central 4 points that Tengen has set up as the 4 cores of the major barrier that imposes all over Japan. I mean, what was Tengen doing this whole time? Think about it. Tengen needs a new body every 500 years, right? What if Tengen came to Japan and brought Jujutsu sorcery over in order to start the process of getting another vessel? You know what I mean? Like, what if Tengen said, I need a vessel that's proper. Let me go to this land of Japan, introduce them to Jujutsu, and find out who the best vessel would be. It's very interesting. And here's a question that I want to ask some of you guys, especially with the cliffhanger we're kind of on right now when it comes to Kenjaku. have a question. Is Tengen still relevant? Now that Tengen has been completely absorbed by Kenjaku. Was absorbing Tengen and then just making Tengen the base for the merger all that Tengen has to offer now? Or is it possible that now that Kenjaku dies, if all of the curse spirits do get released from a curse spirit manipulator, is it possible that Tengen will regain consciousness, will regain her essence, and will regain, what's the word I'm looking for? Autonomy? That's the word I'm looking for. Will Tengen regain autonomy? So, where does Tengen fit in with Sukuna? We know that Sukuna, of all people, also is aware of Tengen. To the point that Sukuna thinks that Tengen keeping Sukuna's body, or is Sukuna's mummified corpse, as a souvenir, or keeping it in one of the Jokai barriers, Sukuna deems that as ironic. Why? Was Sukuna a former Star Plasma vessel? We know Yuki was a former Star Plasma vessel. That's something that we also didn't even get, you know, real confirmation on, or real explanation on, if you really think about it. First of all, eHack1, thank you so much for being a Jogo gang member. Appreciate that love and support. Thank you for being a member for another month. Appreciate that love. Yuki does claim herself to be a former Star Plasma vessel, but if you think about it, we really don't know what that means. Was Yuki deemed a Star Plasma vessel and then they found someone else? Or was Yuki a Star Plasma vessel taken over by Tengen, and then after Tengen found a new body, Yuki then regained her autonomy and was then able to live her life as a special grade sorcerer touched by Tengen? Like, Yuki says she can hear the previous Star Plasma vessels inside of Tengen, which also harkens back to, again, if she can hear the previous Star Plasma vessels inside of Tengen, does that not mean they don't come back and they maintain assimilated inside of Tengen even as Tengen continues to take vessels? Because I think, let me see if I can pull up the panel here. It's around chapter 201, 202, when Yuki says this. I'm gonna put that on screen, because it is kind of interesting, you know. Were there no Star Plasma vessels 12 years ago aside from Riko Amanai? Not including me, of course. None existed with her potential. Oh, so there were others. Then why take the risk of not merging? I merely accepted the circumstances. I am immortal. Merging with a Star Plasma vessel resets my flesh, so it had stopped simple evolution that's achieved through aging. If I evolve, I might destroy humanity. But having failed to merge, even if I evolve and extend my will outside of my body, I can use a barrier technique to preserve my sanity. I was not confident about it. Just as seasons inevitably change, I was always going to end up like this. So basically, Tengen is admitting here, he's like, or she's like, hey, you know, I was worried about merging for a long time. But once I didn't get Riko, I thought there was no point of merging because I had already, Tengen already reached the point of evolution that she was afraid of reaching, right? And then she was like, okay, I've reached the point of no return, and now I can use a barrier technique to retain my sanity. So there's no point to get another Star Plasma vessel because what I was afraid of already came to fruition and we're past it. There's no point. And then Yuki confronts him. Blah, 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 blah. You might as well call me a great sage, you old crappy geezer. I would have allied with the Children of the Star if their plan was to seize control rather than kill Star Plasma vessels. I hate talking about what might have been. You can hear their voices in me, right? I myself cannot. And why would I? Upon merging, they become part of me. What are they saying? like I tell you. If I tell you of what becomes of the vessels who have merged with you, you'll use that wisdom of your age to get defensive and act enlightened. Super interesting to think about, right? Hey, Ehack, thank you so much for the gifted memberships. Appreciate that love and support. Thank you, thank you. What if Tengen intentionally told Yuki to not use domain expansion so she loses? I mean, that would just go right into the, you know, the sus Tengen narrative, right? If Tengen was a supervillain all along. I think Yuki was a Star Plasma Vessel candidate. Okay. That makes sense. So she was never assimilated. She wasn't a former Star Plasma Vessel. She was just a candidate, and she refused to be a candidate. Which begs to the question, are all Star Plasma Vessels special grade sorcerers? Like, if Rico didn't die, would Rico have unlocked Wrath of the Star or something like that and just became a fucking badass sorcerer? Yuki would have lost even worse if she used her domain, to be fair. Kenjaku would have destroyed it and she'd have no technique. It could have went either way, honestly. But yeah, I think there's a lot more to Tengen and Kenjaku's relationship that we need a lot more explanation on, for sure. Are all Star Plasma Vessels female? It seems like it. Oh, what's up, Holify? How we doing today? Not sure if you already rewinded, but hope you're doing well. If you did rewind, it will be funny when you get this message. You get this hello an hour and a half into the stream. That'll be funny. Yeah, it does make sense that all Star Plasma Vessels would be female, considering Tengen is female. But yeah, I think Tengen bringing Jujutsu to Japan, being the sole starting of everything, there potentially being a relationship between Kenjaku and Tengen that goes back to the very beginning. Both of them having curse techniques that involve immortality. Tengen is just sus. And it wouldn't surprise me if Tengen was hiding more from us than just the whole, you know. Tengen could have ended the culling game from the very beginning if they just dispersed the barrier techniques. So, I think Tengen's a little bit more sus than that, but we'll just have to wait and see. And I guess that ultimately brings me to my final topic here. I'm sure there's other points of discussion that I missed that maybe I can bring up at another during another stream, but I guess ultimately where I would like to end off on, and the last point I'd like to touch on would be, where does Sukuna fit into all of this? What makes Sukuna so goddamn special, right? Does it kind of have something to do with, yeah, Sukuna was the original winner of the first culling game, which allowed Sukuna to ascend and reach this monstrous form that we see him in, and that's why he's so strong, and that's why he's able to have such a high understanding of Jujutsu as a whole? Or was Sukuna really just this badass from the fucking beginning? He was born this way. As he said, he was born an unwanted child. And just through being an unwanted child that was abused or mentally neglected, he just became a fucking smoke demon from that point on. Tengen has been pulling the strings from behind. That would make sense to me if Tengen was pulling the strings from behind. Again, this is all just a theory right now, Chuism. I'm just kind of going off of the same theory I had before of Tengen's originality of bringing Jujutsu Society to the Nara period and Heian period. What if the gap between Nara and Heian, or what started the Heian era, was the culling game? Because if you think about it, the whole point of the culling game is to evolve sorcerers and recreate the environment of the Heian era. So wouldn't it make sense that the culling game started the Heian era to begin with? Or that's what ended the Heian era, or maybe that's how Sukuna died, or, you know, like, again, what makes Sukuna so goddamn special? What makes him smarter than the average bear? Was he really someone that just dedicated so much of his life to sorcery? Was he born this way? Was, again, there something that had to do with him ascending to the form he's in now? He turned into oh, I'm sorry, I'm back. He turned into a cursed object with Kenjaku's help, is something that I like to believe is the reason why Sukuna and Kenjaku have a relationship to begin with. Because something that was never explained the original 3 gang. You know, we have the Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura with Yuji, Megami, and Nobara. And back in the day, it was Sukuna, Kenjaku, and Tengen. You know, that's possible. How funny would it be if Sukuna literally just has daddy issues like every other anime villain? Honestly, wouldn't surprise me at this point. What if Sukuna was like Tengen and Kenjaku's child? Like, that's why was born this crazy way. And like, that's why Kenjaku was like, wow, well, I did it once. Let me see if I can create another anomaly again. And Tengen was like, nah, I'm good. I don't ever want to birth another baby like that ever again. And that started the divorce. And that's why Tengen and Kenjaku aren't cool with each other anymore. And Kenjaku has spent thousands of years trying to find a similar womb to Tengen. Let me stop. But I mean, at this point, Gege, these are the theories you got us coming up with, man. If Kenjaku and Tengen are exes, I'll sob. Yo, it wouldn't surprise me. Kenjaku does the grossest things. Hey, Melifury, thank you so much for the 5. I appreciate that love. Thank you. JJK ends with Yuji sitting with his friends in the airport, and he says, the real curse was the friends we made along the way. And the worst part is that is such a reasonable and realistic ending to Jujutsu Kaisen, honestly. This plot needs an Apple AirTag. Yo, so true. I just think they're sisters at this point. I also think that's viable. I was mostly joking about the X thing, but yeah, no, like, I think Kenjaku and Tengen being sisters, or again, having some form of like relationship similar to Full Metal Alchemist, like father and Hohenheim, to where like they both kind of started Jujutsu and then separated and took 2 entirely separate perspectives on it. At the end of the day, Tengen's super sus. Tengen could have ended the culling game from the very beginning if she wanted to. All of these old school characters are super terrible people. And again, it kind of harks back to the stream where I was literally talking about how, if you think about it, the worst villains in the series, the most despicable people, are the people that just don't want to die. Like, it has been your time for millennia now, Kenjaku. It has been your time for millennia now, Sukuna, Tengen. Just fucking die and leave it to the next generation. If you think about it, how all of the villains are people that refuse to leave it to the next generation and continue to do things themselves and prolong their life through evil means, whereas the protagonist and Gojo specifically as a whole represent the theme of passing things on to the next generation, doing what you can, and then building up the people that come after you. Obviously, again, I think that's a major theme of Jujutsu Kaisen. Funnily enough, I think it's super funny. I made a video on this in my second channel, and everyone was trying to cook me, saying that was a terrible ending for Jujutsu Kaisen, and Jujutsu Kaisen is not leading towards this theme at all. And I've just come to the conclusion that when I get crazy comments like that, I'm probably closer to being right than ever before. I digress about that. But if I was Tengen, I wouldn't want the culling game to end. It seems entertaining. Crazy. Why do I think Gege recently drew Toji with a halo? I don't know. I think Gege 1 just loves drawing Toji, and it wasn't the drawing of Toji with the halo like, oh, you're welcome. He's like, hey, by the way, all this is my fault. Like, it's just such a troll. Like, the perfect drawing of Toji. Like, yeah, I see a lot of people in chat saying that like Sukuna is literally just the end result of Yuji. Like, it's literally Yuji getting suffered through, Yuji going through his cycle of suffering over and over again, and then one day Yuji just grabs a gun and says fuck this shit, and that's Sukuna, and then Sukuna just becomes evil. Like, Toji going to hell, bruh? Nah. Toji's gonna be the king of hell. Who are you kidding, bro? Toji's literally gonna make Satan his bitch. We know Lobotomy Kaisen got me. I don't can someone explain to me Lobotomy Kaisen? I see that everywhere, and that's the one thing I do not understand. Yuji's the king of perseverance. Yep, that's one way to do it. The bisected ones. JJK fans tweaking on break week. JJK fans are tweaking every week. Not you guys, though. The no operator community is the best JJK fans. If you're not in the no op community, you're terrible. I'm just kidding. That's a joke, obviously. Don't. I'm kidding. Someone's going to clip that, put that on Twitter, and I'm going to get canceled. What the hell just happened? Oh. Damn, that's wild. Nanami just fell. Foreshadowing. Where'd Nanami go? Oh, that wasn't Nanami. That was Yuji. Foreshadowing? Damn, Yuji's death confirmed. Crazy. I don't think I knocked that over. I think that was God himself being like, yeah, this guy sucks as a main character. Put Yuta back in. It's all the I'd win alternate panel redrawings and the copy pastas of random ass words put together to make a somewhat coherent sentence. Yeah, I see a lot of Lobotomy Kaisen showing up everywhere on my timeline, and I'm always so confused by it. But anyway, guys, thank you all so much for coming out to my Saturday stream. I hope it was somewhat entertaining. I know we don't have much to discuss, unfortunately. We are still on the last legs of the 3-week break week. But don't worry, guys. We should be getting Jujutsu Kaisen relatively soon. I think everyone's saying that we'll get him on the 17th or the 18th. I don't know exactly what day, but you guys can bet I will do my best to try and react to the leaks. And I'll probably stream on Tuesday. Theory about Yuji being immortal. I like the theory of Yuji, like I said, taking on the Tengen mantle. We kind of talked about it in the Yuji section of the stream. We're like, yeah, it would be super cool for Yuji to be, you know, the one that takes Tengen's spot. Have I been watching Frieren? Oh, of course I have. Frieren is peak. If you have not been watching or reading Frieren, read or watch that shit. I read the manga. I'm all the way caught up to Frieren. I'm loving it. Expect Frieren content in the next like week or so, to be honest with you. I'm gonna rank every mage and rank every demon, so that should be a lot of fun. I'm actually gonna be writing that video later tonight. But anyway, guys, I hope you all have an amazing rest of your Saturday. I will probably be here with you guys maybe on Monday for Manga Monday. We will definitely be doing Manga Monday. I'm going to try to start Manga Monday maybe like an hour or two earlier than normal to see if we can get some more time on the clock. I want to scoot through Greed Island super quickly. Scoot through it super fast. I haven't seen the Lobotomy Kaisen edit about Rosa Parks, and I'm kind of scared to see it. But yeah, looking at Ajin Demi-Human, I will. I saw a whole video essay on it. I heard it's a really cool story. I haven't read it. Maybe I will one day, but I got plenty of stuff on my list right now. I gotta read through Demon Slayer. I gotta read through some other series. York New was a lot of fun. I think I'll do a video, maybe in my next Hunter x Hunter stream. Maybe I'll do like a review of 100 chapters of Hunter x Hunter, just to like get all my thoughts out about how I feel right now. And then I'll make that like a second channel video or something. That way everyone who hasn't been watching Manga Mondays can see how I feel about the story so far. I wanted to do a Hunter x Hunter character tier list, but there are no tier lists that are of characters before York New, and it would be so much struggle trying to pick out what characters are which, and like it would just be terrible. If someone wants to make a Hunter x Hunter every character before your new tier list for me, I'd be more than happy to do the tier list on stream. But if there's not, but I looked on tierlist.com for like 30 minutes and I couldn't find anything, so I apologize. But yeah, guys, you're all beautiful, beautiful people. I hope you have an amazing rest of your Saturday, and I will see you guys in the next stream. Yeah, you need to finish the series first to fully even understand the characters you have now. Yeah, I'm starting to understand that. That's why, I don't know. I wanted to give people a review on how I felt so far, but guess you guys can't have nice things. But anyway, guys, like the stream if you haven't already. It really, really helps the channel. I sincerely appreciate you guys stopping by and hanging out with me for another Saturday. And yeah, again, I hope this was entertaining. I tried to work with the fact that we have no content at all. But yeah, the break week is almost over, guys. We're almost getting the rest. And let's see how the hell Sukuna gets out of this one, guys. Or let's see how the hell Gege is gonna cut to something else we don't care about. Anyway, guys, yeah, I love all of you. Hit the like button if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace, peace.